country in debt and a people burdened and hopeless. The party of the rising sun cannot be the party that under their leadership more than 20,000 Jamaicans were unalived. The party of the rising sun cannot be the party that had poverty at over 16%. The party of the rising sun cannot bring finsack on a land and close 40,000 businesses and put hundreds of thousands of Jamaicans out of work. The party of the rising sun can't do that. A nation is rising, not just in numbers, but in mindset. The minds of Jamaicans are being transformed. That is the greatest achievement of this Prime Minister. People growing, not just economically, but in confidence. Countries asserting itself, not just regionally. You see that when Holness goes to the regional meetings, he's a virtual star. Globally, the same thing happens. A small developing state like Jamaica have a leader, or has a leader that is internationally, globally recognized, was invited to the G20 summit in South Africa this year. And tomorrow, as Holness delivers his 11th budget speech, we must understand what we are truly witnessing. Pause, Jamaica. Cock up your foot, as our Shaw say. Get a bottle of water and listen. Listen to a leader with a plan to take his nation forward after the most devastating hurricane we have had in our history. You saw that yesterday? Did you get that in the parliament yesterday? Bombast, rhetorical rubbish, policies that are not thought out. When you listen to Mr. Golding, the policies that Mr. Golding came to the parliament with were the policies in the manifesto. See the absurdity of the presentation. The policies espoused in the parliament were the policies in the manifesto. But let me ask you something. What has happened in Jamaica since September? And if those policies were you couldn't have the same policies in March because you've had a hurricane. I mean, 50% of your GDP has been washed away, and you come back with the same policies you had in September. You have to change them, man. Golding just pluck out a few things out of his manifesto. Carry come a parliament yesterday, and we are recovering from a hurricane. Holness's budget will not just be a financial statement, but a continuation of a vision. A vision that has carried Jamaica through crisis. A vision that has strengthened institutions. A vision that has placed Jamaica firmly on the path of growth and respect. Leadership is not about being perfect. He's not perfect. It is about being consistent, and Holness is consistent. It's about standing firm when others are wavering and waffling. flip-flopping. Flip-flopping. It's about making decisions not for applause, but for impact. Pause, Jamaica, and see this moment as a moment to be proud of. That is why, despite criticisms, despite opposition, despite the noise in the parliament, whole bag of noise, Holness leadership stands. And his leadership stands because result speaks. It is resilience that speaks, and history will speak tomorrow. And so tonight we prepare for tomorrow. Let us listen, not just with our ears, but with our understanding. Enlighten their understanding so that they may listen. Let us look beyond the rhetoric and see the reality. Let us recognize that leadership is not measured in clever comparisons, but in meaningful outcomes. And let us acknowledge a simple truth. Jamaica today is stronger than it was yesterday, more stable than it was before, more confident than it has been in decades. And that is not by chance. That is by leadership. Coming right now. Please remember to support our podcast. If you're in Jamaica, 876-858-9553. That's the WhatsApp number that you can get us in Jamaica. If you're in the United States, the Zelle account is 954-635-8732. That's 954-635-8732. And we also have a cash app. That's $ Caroline Perrier. Please take a minute and support our podcast. Send what you have to the Zelle account at 954-635-8732, or you can cash app Caroline Perrier. That's CARROLINE P capital ERRIER. You put a $ at the start of that. If you are in Canada, then it's we have a e-transfer. I'll find that for you shortly. Thank you so much. So tonight we are reminded about a simple truth. Not every argument that sounds powerful is powerful. Decks thumping comrades, misleading the house, comparing water and gas. When Mark Golding compares a liter of water to a liter of gasoline, he offers a line that is clever, but not correct. Because leadership is not about clever lines. It's about clear thinking. We don't need clever lines. We need clear thinking. Clearly, Mr. Golding's mind is confused. He's under pressure, and he's responding to the pressure. He's making a lot of mistakes. You cannot compare convenience to necessity and call it policy. Holding is comparing necessity to convenience, and they call it policy. PNP is a party of convenience. You cannot solve deep behavioral challenge with shallow fiscal adjustments. Jamaica's issue is not access to water. We have that through the National Water Commission. The issue is choice. And choice is shaped not by price alone, but by culture, habit, and mindset. This is where leadership operates, not in optics, but in outcomes. Not in applause, but in impact. And that is why, as Andrew Holness prepares to deliver his 11th budget tomorrow, we must recognize what truly matters. Because leadership is not about saying what sounds good. It's about doing what works. And as Scratchy told you, we have to put on back the roof because we were badly hit by a Category 5 hurricane. And in the world of noise, of comparisons, of easy answers, Jamaica has been guided by something far more rare: consistency, resilience, vision, and results. That's leadership. That's growth. That is Jamaica rising. Stay tuned tomorrow, because something special is about to be dropped in Parliament. I feel it in my heart. I feel it in my spirit. I feel it in my spirit. Not every argument that sounds powerful is powerful. That's the difference between rhetoric and leadership. Because leadership isn't about what sounds good, my listeners. It's about what works. Take care of yourselves, and we'll catch you on the other side of 8 o'clock. All right? Let's jump up to the analyst. Thank you.
Listeners, could you please tap the screen and share the live?
All right, let's go back here. Who do we have? Coming up. All right, let's see what we have here. Sir Green. Hi, Scratchy. How you doing? Hello.
Neighbor.
Hi.
Are you aware of the fact that inside, look at Scratchy's name, Bertie? Am I the only one seeing that?
No.
No, I am seeing Scratchy.
Night, neighbor.
Hello, Scratchy. I don't know what I'm seeing. I'm seeing you with a Jamaican flag. Is that you?
No, definitely no. That's not me. I have a kids on my profile picture.
Well, what I'm seeing on my screen is a Jamaican.
Maybe I'll just jump off and try to come up back.
Okay.
No, man.
Did you change your name to Bertie Scratchy?
Definitely not.
Okay.
Yeah, one Scratchy, the one and only Scratchy.
Okay.
I am seeing Scratchy.
Can you get down and let me add you back, please?
Okay.
Okay. I think everything is sorted out now, Scratchy. How are you doing? Hello? No. You're here. You're here. You had a great day, sir?
That's neighbor. I know not bad. Not today was kind of chilly, but it's okay. This is Canada.
Scratchy, the Prime Minister speaks tomorrow. His 11th budget presentation, I think. How does that make you feel, first of all, as a proud Labourite?
I mean, very, 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 very proud and honored, neighbor. Not just because not just as a Labourite neighbor, but overall as a citizen of Jamaica, neighbor, I'm very proud to know that our Prime Minister, neighbor, who I can brag about, neighbor, Prime Minister, who I can go around and boast about, not because I share the same political party or affiliate with the same political party that he's the leader of, neighbor, but from a governance level, neighbor, most of the time, neighbor, when we glorify our leaders, neighbor, it is done from a political standpoint. And I think for the first, neighbor, in Jamaica history in a very long while, we have a Prime Minister where we can glorify him, neighbor, from a governance standpoint, without putting your political allegiance aside and look at this man and look at his tenure, look at what he has done, and say, yes, well done, Mr. Prime Minister. So my respect towards him, neighbor, is not only as being a Labourite, neighbor, because being a Labourite, neighbor, doesn't benefit Jamaica and a whole, neighbor, in any significant way or shape. But being the Prime Minister and the type of governance that we have gotten from this man, neighbor, has definitely, neighbor, benefited Jamaica, neighbor, and shaped Jamaica's future going forward. One of the best Prime Minister that we have seen, probably in the last 40, 50 years, the type of things that we have seen this Prime Minister done, the crisis that we have seen this Prime Minister brought us through, and everything like that, neighbor. So definitely, neighbor, the type of attacks that we have seen him come through, neighbor. So he's a Prime Minister, neighbor, who showed us that, neighbor, in trying times, neighbor, he still stand firm, neighbor. And in good times, neighbor, he's even much more stronger. So definitely have to applaud him, neighbor, not just as Labourite, every single Jamaicans, neighbor, should definitely show some form of respect and gratitude and be happy to be alive in this time, neighbor, and to know that we have a leader who the world respect right now. When he goes around the world, neighbor, he's well respected, And not just that, we're a leader, neighbor, when you look at him in terms of his posture, neighbor, in terms of how he carry himself, neighbor, a man who definitely can say, yes, this is a leader, a family man as well, First Prime Minister to have his partner, neighbor, as a member of Parliament as well. She's there on her own merit, but despite being his wife, she's there on her own merit, She was elected by her own constituents and stuff like that. So definitely, neighbor, someone who we should all be proud of, neighbor, and show some gratitude to, neighbor. And every single one of us who's alive in this time, neighbor, we definitely see something that we have never seen before. And we have definitely have a lot of history to tell our children and grandchildren, neighbor, about the greatest Prime Minister, about living in the tenure of the greatest Prime Minister, Andrew Michael Holness.
Okay. Say what we want, Scratch. Tomorrow's presentation is not only about the budget, it is about the politics. It is going to position the government as well as the Jamaica Labour Party in the eyes of Jamaicans as a party to continue for a fourth term or not, because clearly the opposition leader and the I think Golden will be on some program with Dion Jackson tonight on TVJ. Clearly, they are in campaign mode, whether they are campaigning for their internal elections or they are campaigning for the next general election, which is 4 years overdue. In terms of the politics of the presentation tomorrow, how do you see it from a party perspective?
I mean, from a party's perspective, neighbor, I don't think the Prime Minister is going to mirror. He's going to come tomorrow and try to mirror Mr. Golden, neighbor. The Prime Minister is someone who leads, neighbor. He always like to take the lead. He doesn't follow. So I understand his position, neighbor. He understand where he sits, neighbor. He understand this is the first year, this is the first term, neighbor, of his 5-year tenure. So he's not gonna let Mark Golden push him button, neighbor. He's not gonna be propelled by what Mark Golden commented yesterday. Yes, he's gonna expect him to comment rebuttal, neighbor, towards certain things that was said by Mark Golden, by Mr. Golden. But I don't expect the Prime Minister to come in that mood that Mark Golden was in yesterday, as if he's campaigning, neighbor. I think the Prime Minister is very cognizant of the fact, neighbor, that was the election 6 months ago and he was a clear winner. So he's not gonna mirror Mark Golden, neighbor. I think he saw what Mark Golden did yesterday, and he's definitely not going to mirror that. And I think us as Jamaica Labour Party supporters neither, we are not expecting the Prime Minister to mirror Mark Golden Mark Golden style, let's say the neighbor, combative style. The Prime Minister has no reason to be combative, neighbor. He's the one in the driver's seat. His position as leader of the Jamaica Labour Party is not being challenged or is not questioned. His position as leader of Jamaica neither is not being challenged or not being questioned. He won an election 6 months ago. So I can't see it. I know the type of person he is, neighbor. He's someone who always tries to take the high road. He understands the Parliament. He understands how important the Parliament is. he also understands neighbor, how important the budget presentation is. And he also knows that the budget presentation neighbor is not just only for persons who support the Jamaica Labour Party, but for the wider Jamaican whole. But certain optics, yes, I expect that he's gonna come and try to rebut certain things that Mr. Golden said yesterday in certain style that might hit with the political base, that the political base, so that of us might say, yes, we like that job there, we like that job, you know. He might give him 2 punch here and there, neighbor. But definitely substance over hype, I expect tomorrow from the Prime Minister.
Yeah. One other thing I looked at today, Scratchy, as I prepared for the program tonight, is that Holness is responding to Jamaica's greatest natural disaster. And Holness had to respond to Jamaica's greatest health disaster. Did you know, Scratchy, that there are economies in the world that are yet to recover from COVID?
Definitely, neighbor. I know that for sure.
Jamaica recovered, sir, and it's struck, which is why the opposition leader's presentation yesterday was so disappointing. Because, Scratchy, I think sometimes Jamaicans are failing to understand the context in which we are operating. We are recovering from a natural disaster. If you go to Black River right now, you know, Scratchy, it is still amazing to see the devastation caused by that hurricane. There are still people in Jamaica with their roofs with tarpaulin on it, you know. We are still 6 months after the worst natural disaster we have ever seen. And this Prime Minister, Scratchy, has been the Prime Minister that has had to manage Jamaica through 2 of its worst times in history. Scratchy, this man don't need to be criticized, you know. This man need to be commended. And those critics, Scratchy, need to back off now, man.
Yeah, but they definitely need to back off, neighbor. This Prime Minister, as I said, neighbor, that's why I should show some form of gratitude, and all of us should be honored and pleased, neighbor, to know that in our lifetime, neighbor, we have a leader like Andrew Michael Holness. He spoke about COVID-19, neighbor. Very, very devastation, neighbor. Pandemic that hit the world, neighbor. Not just Jamaica alone, worldwide effect on Jamaica and the world, neighbor. And small developing states like Jamaica, neighbor, tend to not recover as quickly as Jamaica did from these type of health, of worldwide situation, or worldwide health situation, neighbor. COVID-19 was something very new to us, neighbor. Most of us, neighbor, we have never seen anything like this, neighbor. A pandemic that has caused the country to go in total shutdown in more than once. We have days, neighbor, where it was total no movements days. We have days, neighbor, where certain sectors are
earning nothing. The tourism sector closed down.
Tourism sector closed down, neighbor. Airports closed, neighbor. So, until you see Jamaica recovered, neighbor, after COVID, neighbor, Jamaica have about 20 or 21 consecutive quarters of growth, neighbor. That was the growth was derailed by Hurricane Beryl. It was Hurricane Beryl, neighbor, that came and derailed like 20 quarters of growth. So it just to tell you, neighbor, how the good stance that the economy was at the time. And it also show you, neighbor, how creative the Prime Minister and his team was, neighbor, because during the plight of COVID, neighbor, we saw something that the Prime Minister created that they call the care package, neighbor, where for the first time in the history of Jamaica, neighbor, a package was created, neighbor, for every single Jamaicans, neighbor. I remember persons rushing to collect their 10,000 from remittances and banks and stuff like that. I remember the tourism sector, neighbor, despite being closed down, neighbor, no tourism worker lost their job as a result of an 18,000 package every 2 weeks that was created by this government, neighbor, for tourism workers and stuff like that. So, you know, when you look at the cost of vaccine, yes, we got vaccine through donation and stuff as well, but we also buy our own vaccine and stuff. We're in a position where we could buy our own vaccine. You know, when you look at our certain critical sectors, our health sector, neighbor, they got the necessary help that was needed. So definitely, neighbor, Prime Minister, neighbor, who understand, neighbor, Prime Minister, leaders, neighbor, are leaders, neighbor. But leaders are tested whenever there's a situation, neighbor, where you have 2.8 million people life in your hand, neighbor. And it is up to you, it's up to the decision that you make that decide how many of these persons die as a result of this pandemic, neighbor, how many of these lives are saved. And I must say, neighbor, if you look across the whole region or you look across the world, neighbor, Jamaica, neighbor, has one of the lowest, probably have one of the lowest death rate, neighbor, coming out of COVID. Very, very low. And that was as a result, neighbor, of the measures that was put in place by the government, neighbor. That was as a result of the programs and policies that was put in place, neighbor. We saw where hotels, neighbor, were being paid to use as quarantine centers for persons who want to be quarantined. Not a very cheap venture, neighbor. Very, very expensive. But the government found the money to make it possible to do that. We saw when time many cases erupted in any form of communities, neighbor, where the health system moved into those communities, quarantine those communities, neighbor, and take the necessary steps that need to be taken. Fast forward now, Hurricane Beryl, neighbor, We had Hurricane Beryl again. Prime Minister did what he was supposed to do, neighbor. Every single constituency down in that belt who suffered from hurricane, they got $350 million that was given to them by the government to help with persons to restructure themselves and putting on back their roof. Fast forward now to 1 more year after Hurricane Beryl, neighbor, where we have the largest or the most destructive hurricane in how many years called Hurricane Melissa. You know, that wipe away 12 billion of our economy, neighbor. And the Prime Minister again, neighbor, stood on his feet, neighbor, and created a package of 10 billion Jamaican dollars, neighbor. Never in the history of Jamaica has any government could ever find $10 billion. Not to give out as loan, neighbor, but to give out as grant to help persons who suffer losses and help persons in the reconstruction work of their life and stuff like that. When you look at even businesses, neighbor, businesses were giving even different grants. When you look at border, that little business sector there, right, between Westmoreland and St. Elizabeth, where you could go and buy your little food and stuff like that, neighbor. Arbin Hill, neighbor, through his ministry, did a wonderful job, neighbor, in reconstruction of stars and everything like that, letting that area get a massive facelift. You look at what went on in our tourism sector, the tourism areas, neighbor, the help that was given to tourism sector and tourism area. Definitely, neighbor, if you look at Jamaica right now, without going directly and looking at the devastation, neighbor, looking at things right now, you will never know that we suffered such a devastating hurricane, neighbor, because of how resilient the economy was to a certain level, neighbor, and how strong. And that was as a result of the Prime Minister's policies and program. If it wasn't for the policies and programs that were put in place, neighbor, we would have seen way more damage, neighbor. And a lot of persons, I can tell you, neighbor, the reason why I have so much more respect for Andrew Michael Holness, neighbor, coming into the 2025 election, neighbor, the budget that was read, that year, neighbor, a lot of persons were complaining and saying that it wasn't an election budget. They were looking for more perks in it to kind of spruce up the electorate, you know, more giveaways and stuff like that. I remember the Prime Minister standing in Parliament doing that budget presentation and said that the budget could have a deficit of maybe about $300 million. He could run a deficit of about $300 million, neighbor. And he decided not to run that deficit, neighbor. He said that he's not going to run that deficit. And when I saw after the hurricane came in October, neighbor, I look at myself and say, I don't know if Andrew wants to have a crystal ball where we can see in the future, because he didn't give us a run with it budget, neighbor, in the election, neighbor. And he didn't run a deficit of $300 million. Imagine, neighbor, if that $300 million deficit was in the budget coming into Hurricane Melissa, neighbor, we would have eat our supper in a greater level, neighbor. We had $1 billion, neighbor, $1 billion was our disposal right away to help with immediate movements of supplies and stuff in this disaster area. So, neighbor, there's a forward-thinking government, neighbor. And all of us, neighbor, should applaud this man and be thankful, neighbor, that we have a Prime Minister like Andrew Michael Holness compared to past leaders that we have seen, especially, neighbor, from the other side, because they have ruled Jamaica for the longest time in one go, in 18 and a half years. And we never see this type of leadership from them, neighbor. We didn't get this type of leadership from them. We didn't get this type of response from them during disaster, neighbor. I for one, as a Jamaican neighbor, I feel secure. If something should happen right now in my country, I feel secure, neighbor. Because in the days when things happen in Jamaica, neighbor, you're helpless, you're hopeless. Right now, Jamaicans are very resilient and strong, neighbor, because we believe in our government, and we believe in Andrew Michael Holness, and we believe in the cabinet of Jamaica, neighbor.
Hold on for me, please. Okay, hold on for me. Listeners, we're coming right back. We're on a break. Say good night to Shefreen, if you're listening. Thank you. What a fantastic work you've been doing for us. Thank you. Shefreen. Good night to you. Good night to you, Caroline, and Harry, if you're out there listening, thank you so. We have with us Scratchy. Good night, listeners. We have with us the communications director for the Jamaica Labour Party, Mr. Scratchy.
What a rule neighbor? What a rule give it? What a rule they give it me neighbor? That's a rule big over man.
That's what the listeners are saying. Hold on for me, listeners. We're coming right back. All right, welcome back, Scratchy. Welcome back, listeners. We are in the analyst hour, and of course, we go with you until 9 o'clock. Scratchy, are you there?
Yes, neighbor, I'm here.
Yeah. Jamaica finds itself, Scratchy, at a pivotal moment with the opposition leader, Mark Golding, in my view, drawing ideological lines that threaten to further divide the nation. As laborites, I think it's time to reflect on our history, define our values, and chart a clear path forward. Don't you think, Scratchy, that Golding's performance in let me ask you your view of it, the combative approach could divide the politics further? And I think that's the type of politics that Holness has tried to move the country away from. Don't you find that his approach, even ideological, and the aggressive nature in which he speaks and approaches the opposition role, especially when he speaks to the Prime Minister, is threatening to divide the country?
I'm definitely neighbor. The only thing neighbor that I am all right. Mark Golding's style neighbor is very combative neighbor. It also borders and disrespect as well neighbor. And it also doesn't send a signal neighbor as to where Jamaica political system is coming from neighbor, to where we want to go.
Because remember that the supporters of both sides are listening, you know.
Exactly. And supporters tend to mirror their leadership neighbor, their leader.
Yes, sir. Yes.
So when time you see Mark Golding neighbor coming with that combative style neighbor, you know, pointing his finger at time across the aisle and saying you untie, you know, directing his finger at the Prime Minister and pushing his head over the podium and making certain posture, making certain gestures and stuff like that neighbor. It doesn't sit well neighbor. It doesn't send a good signal to Jamaican neighbor, as if unity is our key thing neighbor, as if unity is the main thing that we're trying to strive for right now neighbor. And based on where Jamaica political system is coming from neighbor, I think it is best neighbor for Mark Jefferson Golding to tone down the rhetoric, because we don't want to go back to where we're coming from neighbor. We're all humans, and we know we talk about our leaders, how we go for our leaders. So at the same time, he's rallying his base in a violent way neighbor, and he's leaving supporters of the Jamaica Labour Party to look at him in a violent way as well. You know? And look at his supporters in a violent way, and it can cause some form of clash that can lead to political violence. So, but the greatest thing neighbor is it takes two to tango neighbor, and it takes two to create an argument. And the wonderful thing that we all should always admire and respect is that the Prime Minister will not marry, the Prime Minister will not mirror it, the Prime Minister will not add any fuel neighbor to fire that Mark Golding is trying to blaze. The Prime Minister is more calm, is more collective neighbor. The Prime Minister is very professional in his style. And come
but
tomorrow,
he's no pushover. You know,
and he's definitely no pushover neighbor. And come tomorrow neighbor, even if neighbor the Prime Minister should be combative neighbor to certain way neighbor, the Prime Minister's combativeness neighbor will be done in a certain way neighbor, where it doesn't push any form of violence, or it doesn't rub us to a certain way like the Prime Minister is trying to cause any form of violence or anything. Mark Jefferson Golding neighbor need to be cognizant of the fact neighbor that Jamaica is a very tribal country neighbor.
Yes,
our political system neighbor has always being mirrored with violence, neighbor. Our political violence and the rhetoric that come from our politicians, neighbor, is one of the main things why persons always talk about why we have this low voter turnout as well. Because a lot of persons are disgusted by how politicians carry themselves, how politicians talk and speak. And Mark is reminding Jamaicans of that, neighbor, and you have to be very careful, neighbor. I was listening to someone today again, and even we were the first one in the neighbor. We were the first platform, neighbor, to call out Mark and say that Mark and Julian were campaigning for their base. And now I see everyone else running with it. I see every
Lord. Everybody is saying it.
I see every media also run with it now, neighbor.
By the way, Scratchy, you said that even before they made their presentation. You said that's exactly what they were going to do.
Exactly, neighbor. I see the media also running with it, right? Caroline, you saying something?
I'm sorry to interrupt. Listeners, could you please tap the screen and share the live? Could you also please remember to repost the live? Thanks. I'm sorry about that. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's okay. So, neighbor, I think Mr. Golden just need to look back at where we are coming from, to where we are, and understand that as the leader of the opposition, you have a role to play, neighbor. We have seen Mark Golden doing this, neighbor, from in the campaigning style.
Yes,
from the campaigning in the last general election, neighbor. He was very disrespectful, neighbor. He was very rude. If you go back to even the debate, neighbor, when the debate finished and these guys were supposed to shake hands, neighbor, if you look at the style that Mark Golden, the Prime Minister, had to look at him at one point because like he didn't want to shake the Prime Minister in front of Jamaicans who were watching the debate. Fast forward to the election, neighbor, we hear a lot of things that come out of his mouth and political platforms and stuff like that. And it is just a shame, neighbor, to know that Mark Golden still continue to push that style, neighbor. And that is why, neighbor, you see the PNP, neighbor, who are on TikTok. This is why we are seeing the type of thing that is coming from them. This is why we are seeing them so combative. This is why we are seeing them so attacking, neighbor, because it is what they see coming from the leadership of their party. And it's Mark Golden, neighbor, is sending a very, very bad message, neighbor, to his supporters, neighbor. And if we are not careful, it is possible, neighbor, that we can have clash, and persons will clash and things can definitely happen. It's because of the rhetoric, because he's rallying up his base, neighbor, and Jamaicans who support the Jamaica Labour Party are going to say they're disrespecting their leader. And that can cause problem, neighbor. That can cause a clash. You are not the leader. As the leader of the opposition, when you come to the parliament to speak, you speak on behalf of the single Jamaicans. Stop come and talk about the 400,000 persons who voted for you. Stop come and talk about you got 100,000 extra votes. Stop Mark Jefferson Golden. Those things are not professional. Those things doesn't show good leadership. It doesn't show where Jamaica wants to go. It's like you're taking us back where we used to be. And that is not good, neighbor, because a lot of Jamaica problem, neighbor, was because politics, so political problems. It pushed crime. It pushed crime, neighbor. It pushed violence. And it doesn't help, neighbor. It scare off investor confidence, neighbor. It doesn't help us, neighbor. Jamaica is in the position it is in, neighbor, a big result of the political violence. Political violence have subsided to a great level, neighbor. And Mark Jefferson Golden must make sure that he maintains that level of calmness when it comes to political violence. We don't want to go back to those days. So we want a leader, neighbor, who despite whatever, when you come to the parliament, despite how passionate you might be about whatever you're talking about, neighbor, you say that with some form of respect, and you come and remember say that Jamaicans are watching. We have persons who are 14-year-old, 15-year-old, we have 16-year-old, 17-year-old. These are the persons who are going to be asked to vote in the next general election. And if this is the style that you're bringing, I can guarantee you, neighbor, that they're going to lose this demographic group, neighbor. Mark Golden, neighbor. And I hope Dean Jackson Miller call him out tonight, call him out and the whole water thing, comparing what the price of water to gas. I hope to call him out and all of these things.
We're going to get to that.
It shouldn't.
We get to that. Yes. Go ahead, Scratch.
Yes, neighbor. So all I'm saying is that the People's National Party, led by Mark Jefferson Golden, neighbor, need to be more aware, neighbor, that his rhetoric, neighbor, can cause political hiccups in this country. If he's not careful, and he must tone down the rhetoric. A budget presentation yesterday, neighbor, that is not the style that you look out for a budget presentation. First year into a political term, not an election year, neighbor, campaigning at that level, neighbor, and being so aggressive, it doesn't give you any form. I don't think you gain anything from that. Because come 2020, 2030, when the next election call, nobody's going to remember this budget presentation that they did in 2026. So just tone down the rhetoric, Mr. Golden, hold a professional stance, and let us build Jamaica, man. Jamaica is our main goal is to choose Jamaica. That is what we said, Mark Golden. Choose Jamaica. And choose Jamaica don't mean you have to be a Labour right neighbor. Once you're a Jamaica, you should choose Jamaica. Choose Jamaica, Mark Golden, man, and cut your rhetoric, man.
Yes. So here is a caller to the Cliff Hughes show, Cliff Hughes online today on Nationwide. Here's a call.
And I was of the impression that there's a general election next week.
Here's he.
I listened to the opposition leader's contribution to the budget debate yesterday, and I was of the impression that there's a general election next week.
So that's scratchy. He said he listened to the opposition leader, and he was of the impression that there is going to be a general election next week. He's correct, eh?
Yeah, but he's 100% spot on, and I'm glad that other persons can see this neighbor, so I can say to ourselves, neighbor, that we are not senile. We know exactly what is going on. What we said on call out on the day one was actually true.
Absolutely, yes. Well, we're the leading platform. Listen a little bit more to the caller talking to Mr. Hughes today.
Because a lot of the things that were being touted and proposed, and even the tone in which they were being presented, would give the impression that there is going to be a referendum on the budget presentation by the government and the opposition in a week's time. But you have hit the nail on the head. Perhaps it was more a kind of appeal to a more localized base.
The PNP base, the hardcore PNP base.
Yes. So perhaps we should then not be too critical.
You're right, you're right, because when I listened to it, I tried to listen to most of it. I didn't hear every word, yes? And it struck me that the whole tone and tenor and posture was too combative.
Yeah.
Yeah, far too combative.
Extremely combative. You got the impression that there was something at stake in a short period of time.
Yes.
As opposed to the idea that we, as a country, whether you are PNP, JLP, or NOP, as a country, we're coming out of a historic hurricane. It would have devastated the productive sector in the West and our economy. We know what the realities are. And so there's no PNP or JLP gains to be made in the first year of an administration, but they can be.
There you go, Scratch. We're going to play a little bit more of that. But comment on that. Comment on the combativeness, Scratch. That's what we've been talking about. And that in the first 6 months after an election, why seek to score political points when our hands are dirty trying to build back the nation? It is not the appropriate time at all.
Definitely not the appropriate time, neighbor. Anyone with any form of political sense, neighbor, anyone with any form of political knowledge, neighbor, knows that, neighbor, 6 months after election, you come to a budget presentation, you try to level the field to a certain level, neighbor. You try to get corporate Jamaica on your side. You try to build back your old demeanor because you lost the election, neighbor. So when you lost the election, the first thing you're going to do in retrospect is going to look at yourself, look at your approach, and try to change your approach. Now, when you come to a budget presentation, you come more calmer, you come with a more professional stance, you try to change your stance. Mark Jefferson Golden did not do that yesterday. He talked about the procurement one night time, and the Prime Minister was even endorsing it and beating the bench. That was something good where you should add on, because we definitely have a procurement problem in the country. Both sides can agree on that. So when you come now and you start to throw your tantrums now, you start to attack the Prime Minister, you try to you went as far as one time attack, you throw your car, but you throw your car where you don't call no foul, type of rhetoric and stuff like that. It throws out the whole professionalism of the debate, neighbor. It becomes distasteful to a lot of persons. It becomes where persons got turned off because persons are looking, neighbor, as the opposition, neighbor, to come in any form of alternative. But instead of coming to alternative, you didn't come in that, you come with a combative style, and combativeness, neighbor, is seen as some form of aggression. Persons don't tend to understand when time you are being combative and come with aggression, and persons are going to see that you are more aggressive and combative more than any other thing. So the information that you come with is going to be lost, are flying over people that person don't get the full understanding of what you're about, just because of your tone and your rhetoric. So again, Mark Jefferson Golden, neighbor, blundered they said the neighbor, the leader of the opposition. If I was the leader of the opposition, neighbor, and I know that I used a certain tone in the last general election, and I realized that I lost the election, neighbor, because of that tone, neighbor. I understand where Jamaica is. Again, Mark Golding is someone, neighbor, where he's not reading the room. He's not understanding how Jamaicans operate, neighbor. I would come, neighbor, with a more calm, neighbor, yesterday. I would come more calm. I would come more compassionate, neighbor. It's the first year of the political system, neighbor. I would even try to be more understanding and lenient towards government in the fact that we're recovering from a hurricane to kind of let persons. I think if Mark Golding had took that approach, neighbor, it should be a total different discussion in Jamaica today.
We would be here tonight commending or probably
if Mark Golding had took that if Mark Golding had took that direction yesterday, neighbor, we'd be having a totally different conversation today, neighbor. Mark Golding would have been the talk of the town, neighbor, in Jamaica, and every talk show and every single weird, neighbor. If you had just changed that approach, it's the first year, neighbor. You can manage to run that risk in the first year, neighbor. The first year, neighbor, of a political system, there's nothing to gain from any political parties. No political party have nothing to gain. Nothing to gain, neighbor. The people is here. Politically, yes, you have nothing to gain politically in the first year, neighbor. So what I would have done if I was a leader of opposition, I would have come in, I would have agreed with a lot of things that the government was coming. Yes, I would have highlighted what could be done better, yes, but I would do that in a different tone and different rhetoric. I would be more calm, I'm more professional, I'm more presentable in whatever I'm rebutting. And I also try to understand from a certain level and say that, yes, Mr. Prime Minister, yes, we stand with your government. We understand that you guys need a certain amount of 10 years of not taxing for taxes. I understand that, yes, if you come and ask for taxes right now, it is okay. But when you try to push a narrative as if whatever taxes are levied right now, the $19 billion out of taxes that are levied on Jamaicans right now, is going to sink people deeper into poverty and stuff like that. That is misleading. That is definitely misleading, neighbor, because whatever goods, neighbor, the taxes are levied at, neighbors, are goods and services, neighbor, that we can do without, neighbor. These are goods and services that are not essential to our everyday living, that are not essential to our life. There's no one in Jamaica who have to drink a Pepsi, neighbor. There's no one in Jamaica who have to smoke a cigarette, neighbor. There's no one in Jamaica who have to drink an alcoholic beverage, neighbor. Our life doesn't depend on that. Those are things that you can avoid. Those are lifestyle habits. And once it is lifestyle habit, neighbor, it is not a must. It is not something that we need. It is not water. It is not rice. It is not flour. It is not food. It is not essentials. It is not part of our key essential that we use. It is not gas that we use in our everyday life, neighbor. Those things didn't attract any form of tax. So for you to come and make it look like an alcoholic beverage, the whole country is going to suffer because of a tax that is an alcoholic beverage. It's like you're basically saying that 2.8 million of us benefit or use alcohol on an everyday level. It's a key part of our life. When you talk about the sweet beverages going to affect us, it's like you're saying that every single one of us live on sweet beverages and want to be a part of these sweet beverages. I'm not going to call any, I don't want to call out Pepsi or any sweet beverage at all, but it is just misleading, neighbor. And as a leader of opposition, neighbor, I think he missed a point last night. He missed a point yesterday, neighbor. 6 months after a general election, I wouldn't come this combative towards the government, neighbor. I would have been more compassionate. I would have been more understanding. And not just only because it is a 6 months, neighbor, because of how I'm a Jamaican and I realized, neighbor, that we just coming out of a devastation, 12 billion US dollar, 2 trillion Jamaican dollars of the economy in damages and loss, neighbor. I would have took a more softer approach, neighbor, and change the narrative. I would have surprised the government and surprised the Jamaica Labour Party supporters and surprised Jamaica on a whole and come with a more calm response, neighbor, and a more understanding towards the budget, neighbor, just for the sake of what we are going to. And just beyond the fact, neighbor, as using my political sense and being politically savvy and politically smart and saying to myself, okay, I can run this risk right now. It's 6 months after election. And it will help me politically and change my political narrative. I know a person see me politically, but he blundered that chance, neighbor. All he can see, neighbor, is to be combative and be attacking. And he lost that. And that's why he's being called out right across the length and breadth of Jamaica right now for that style.
Our listeners, could you please continue to tap and share?
"17 minutes after 8 o'clock. We're in the hour between 8 and 9. And we'll go with you until 9 o'clock tonight. Scratchy and Harry is here. They're analysts. And you missed the neighbor's note? Well, we're going to tell you how you can get it back. Wow. Please remember, if you're in Jamaica, 876-858-9553, 876-858-9553. You can call us on that number or WhatsApp. Not during the program. If you want to get in touch with us during the program, you have to WhatsApp, all right? Don't call. And if you are in the United States and you want to make a contribution to the podcast, the Hello Neighbor podcast, the Zelle account is 954-635-8732. That's 954-635-8732. Or you can send us a cash app. We have cash app. Cash app is $ Caroline Perrier. That's CARROLINE, capital PERRIER. Please, your support keeps the program going, and we want you to help us to build even stronger. Please, Shefreen, can you send me the e-transfer account for those persons who are in Canada and want to support the Hello Neighbor podcast? Let's do that. 19 after 8. We have a lot more to discuss with you. You can't afford to go anywhere. Stay right with us. Looking at Mark Golding's budget presentation and at the same time reviewing the Prime Minister's presentation tomorrow, yeah?
The national games.
When I listened, I kept on saying that he's not reading the room. He's not reading the room.
You hit the nail on there.
Yeah.
There was an absence of a kind of broader awareness.
Yes.
Of the realities that we are operating in.
I think he had a good opportunity to reach out beyond his base, the Jamaicans in the middle, who are looking at him and say, is this man up to the job? Is he up to the job? Is he ready for the job? To make a more convincing case to some of those people. Yeah,
I agree. And in fact, I give you an example of how the combativeness was so rife, so strong that he himself even missed an opportunity to be a little bit more diplomatic. He made a point about our procurement challenges, a point that I think is impatient of debate. Everybody who works in the public sector, who engages the public, knows there's a procurement process. And he highlighted it and pointed to the need to address it so that capital expenditure can be increased and advanced to respond to militia.
Mm-hmm.
The Prime Minister was in agreement.
Yes.
And was actually knocking his table in support of the argument. And the opposition leader said, I don't want you knocking the table. I don't want to knock in on the table.
I don't want you clap.
I want you fix the problem.
Yes.
No.
I've watched several Jamaican political leaders over the decades, and some of our political leaders have the natural ability to read the room, to read the mood in the country, and to know when to lower the temperature.
Pamper Swaddlers keeps your baby.
All right, let's that has an ad on it, so we take a little bit more of that. We're playing a little bit of what a caller to Cliff Hughes said today. Here is it.
Yep. When to be reaching across the aisle
Yeah.
I'm afraid Mr. Golding does not have those political instincts.
Yeah,
He really doesn't have those political instincts.
I think it is a big gap.
Yes.
Now let's go to some of the more substantive things. So one of the highlights of the opposition's presentation, to me, both the spokesman on finance and the leader of the opposition, is the improved systems of collection. Improving the electronic use of collection at sale, right?
Mm-hmm.
At point of sale as opposed to post sale, right? Mm-hmm. Now, that sounds like a good idea, and there's precedence for it in other Caribbean and Latin American countries. What I would have hoped Mr. Golding would have done is expand on the idea and point out how much the capital investment perhaps would be in this new system in year one, because we can't implement the system in year one. Mm-hmm. The system would have to be built. It would have to be, you'd have to run a pilot on it, and then you'd have to absorb it into the operations of the tax administration. So clearly, the 8-point-something billion that they said we would benefit from would not be a year one benefit. That would probably be in the year two. But in year one, we'd have to have some capital expenditure to get the system up and running.
All right, let's go back in. All right, so scratch it before I bring Harry in. I think Golding did a gamble yesterday. The exploiting of divisions rather than bridging them. I see Mr. Hughes there saying that he doesn't have the political instinct to reach across the aisle. He risked, scratching, entrenching Jamaica's existing fault lines, pitting citizens against each other rather than uniting us towards common goals. Didn't you find that this speech from a leader yesterday fit those narratives of putting the country into two, splitting the country into two? At this time, Scratchy, is it not distasteful that Jamaica is being divided by one of our main our leaders?
Yeah, but it is definitely something, neighbor, that needs the attention of the whole Jamaica, neighbor. Because as I said, neighbor, Jamaica is a country, neighbor, where we have suffered immensely, neighbor, from political violence, neighbor, political tribalism, neighbor. We have suffered very, very hard from that, neighbor. We have lost, a lot of Jamaicans lost their life, neighbor, as a result of political violence. Jamaica business sector, neighbor, suffered tremendous losses, neighbor, from a financial standpoint, as a result of political violence, neighbor. Political violence has not benefited Jamaica, neighbor, in no way, shape, or form. It is something that we have managed to put behind us, neighbor. When you look at the 1976 election, the 1980 election, neighbor, come all the way up to the 1990s, 1980 election, 89 election, 93 election, 97 election, all the way up to the 2002 election. Because I remember 2002 election. I was a child, I couldn't vote at that time, but I remember there was political violence, neighbor, at that time. You know, even 2007, yes, it toned down to a certain level, but there was still some little small patches here and there. So 2007, I could say, yes, we saw we can come to 2011, where we saw PNP and JLP now, supporters now, neighbors, start coming together, and celebrating together, in different constituencies and communities. 2011, we saw that. In 2016, again, we saw the unity, neighbor. 2020, we saw the unity again. 2025, we saw the unity. But I think what the PNP is realizing, neighbor, is that with the unity that Jamaicans has formed, neighbor, from a political standpoint, neighbor, the PNPs have to believe, neighbor, that it is not helping them, neighbor. Because since that political violence, neighbor, has subsided to a very, very large level, neighbor, the People's National Party, neighbor, has managed to not gain any form of popularity from it. Because the PNP, neighbor, benefited from political violence, neighbor. Whether I want to believe it or not, these are the guys who use political violence as a form of intimidation, neighbor. They know the type of persons who support the Jamaica Labour Party and know the cohort of these persons. They know the level of these persons. They know what these persons support. They know what these persons stand for. So they use political violence, neighbor, as a means, neighbor, to suppress these persons' votes. They use political violence as a means to intimidate these persons. So the People's National Party, neighbor, benefit from political violence. Now, the persons who support Jamaica Labour Party, neighbor, or who want to support Jamaica Labour Party, neighbor, these are persons, neighbor, where a lot of them, neighbor, don't want to be aligned with the violence that comes with politics, neighbor. A lot of them don't like the distastefulness of the politics. So a lot of these persons, neighbor, they want to support the Jamaica Labour Party, but because they don't want to be branded, they don't want to be victimized, they tend to stay away from the polls. So what we are seeing now is that more of these professional persons are coming out in support of the Jamaica Labour Party as a result, neighbor, of the diminish or the demise of political violence. Now the PNP look into themselves and realize that political violence that is missing from our political landscape from the past couple of elections is only benefiting the Jamaica Labour Party, because Jamaica Labour Party supporters, they are not intimidated no more. They are not afraid no more. You know, persons can wear them colour freely and go support and go vote and do what they want to do now. So I think Mark Golding, neighbor, realized that I hear persons tend to say that Mark Golding explained us the playbook of the PNP from the 70s. And I would definitely agree, neighbor, that he's using some tactics, neighbor, of the 70s. We saw it in the last election, neighbor, the intimidation that they were coming with, trying to push on Jamaica Labour Party supporters, neighbor, because they know the professional they know professional people support the Jamaica Labour Party, and they know once violence is a part of the political system, people who support or who want to support the Jamaica Labour Party is going to stay away from the political system. So PNP, neighbor, they benefit from political violence, neighbor, and I think that is the reason why the leadership of the PNP is pushing this narrative to try to divide us, neighbor, not for us to try to unite and come in one unison and show love and unity and say yes, or pass political violence, because, neighbor, it is not helping them. Two things not helping PNP, neighbor. The subsiding, the removal of political violence from our political system, neighbor, is definitely not helping the PNP, neighbor. And the advancement, neighbor, for our persons, neighbor, from a personal development standpoint, neighbor, increasing the literacy rate, neighbor, increasing persons going to school, increasing persons living condition, those things are not benefiting the PNP, neighbor. The PNP only can benefit, neighbor, from the downfall of Jamaica and Jamaicans. Don't ask me, don't take my word for it, neighbor. Look at all the elections that PNP used to win. PNP won these elections, neighbor, when time political violence was at its highest. PNP won these elections, neighbor, when time poverty was at its highest. PNP won these elections when time unemployment was at its highest. PNP won these elections when crime and violence was at its highest, neighbor. Why now that Jamaica is moving from these things, neighbor, we are seeing low unemployment rate, low poverty rate, you know, increase in salaries and stuff like that? Why the PNP is becoming relevant as Jamaica advances, neighbor? Ask yourself that question. Why has Jamaica grow? Why has Jamaica advanced? PNP is becoming more irrelevant. I'm telling the neighbor, for Jamaica to grow, the PNP must go, neighbor. Definitely.
Wow. Fantastic. Great. Hold on there for me, Scratchy. Good evening to you, Harry.
Good evening, neighbor. Good evening, Scratchy, Caroline, Sadorlan.
Harry,
neighbor.
It's a Wednesday night, and so we do close a little early. I want you to help me with this before I go to Mr. Francis. Scratchy, Harry, there was a clever line in the opposition leader's speech about comparing water to gasoline. Hello?
Yeah. Go ahead, neighbor. I'm listening.
Yeah. No. For the first point I want you to help me with, Harry, is that price alone does not determine behavior. Am I correct?
Definitely correct, neighbor.
And that assumption does not hold up under scrutiny. Now, the other point, Scratchy, Harry, is that human behavior, especially when it comes to consumption, is not driven by cost. It is driven by culture, habit, preference, and psychology. Am I not correct there too?
Right on the nail, neighbor.
Okay. No, Scratchy. Harry, I call you Scratchy. If you go to most restaurants in Jamaica, Harry, and you are given an option between a bottle of juice and a bottle of water, aren't most Jamaicans likely to choose the bottle of juice?
Neighbor, 9.9% of the time, 99.9% of the time, you will take the juice. It is one in which also your psychology is coined through a marketing factor, because if you look at it, these companies actually create a package So, for example, let's say you're going to a KFC neighbor, you're going to get more than likely some form of soda. Doesn't matter what kind of soda, because it
And
comes with the
if they
meal.
if they offer you a cup of water, that is disrespect.
Exactly.
You're going to water with me chicken.
in fact, neighbor, you're going to look at it and look at the insult and say, but me can't get water in my yard. Me never come for water, yes, sir.
Water free.
Exactly.
Yes.
So the truth regarding it is that, and I was also doing some additional checks as well, neighbor, right, regarding the economic aspect of it when it comes down to cost and accessibility. At no point in time it is any one determining factor as the opposition leader wants it to seem, right? Because let's look at the variability. Neighbor, we have roughly about 100 different manufacturers of water. And for me, bottled water is a luxury. It's not a necessity. It's not an essential thing about it. Water, yes, water itself is life, as the saying goes. But your cost overall or your income does not determine your consumption of water, neighbor. It doesn't deter you either.
Let's be clear, Harry. The bottle of water is not $100 for the water, you know. It's $100 factored into a lot of things. Explain that for me.
So you have to look at the markup that will come with those bottled water, neighbor. The brand of the water. So, for example, water will always be cheaper than a Fuji or a Fiji water. I don't remember the right name for it. Exactly, neighbor. Right? And,
yes.
And also the geographical location as to where you find that water differs. Because, for example, I can go downtown, neighbor, and I'm downtown, but I get things cheap downtown. I can go downtown and get a water for probably $50. And if I ever dare go Ligani, the same water probably cost me $200.
Or the airport.
Or there you go, neighbor. Right?
Yes.
So it is not
same bottle of water
that
he has in Parliament there for $100. Costs $250 at the airport.
Yes, definitely. Because the thing about it, and this is done in terms of research as well, neighbor. Right? And I'll share the quote from I'll tell you the healthy living factors that influence food and choices, right? It's a European article that was posted in as far back as 2006, and they state that to date it doesn't change, right? And it simply states, neighbor, access to more money does not automatically equate to a better quality diet, but the range of foods which you choose from. So it is not one in which your social class, which equates to your money, determines what you eat. The only difference is that you get a wide variety, but it doesn't limit you to one thing. Because Jamaica, when you look at the poverty levels, is not where we were. So it's not where you are mandated because your pocket can't go there. And I did an internal research myself earlier today. I did it at work. I just randomly asked person's questions, right? Is it that if you're given the option, you know, you go and buy something and you look at it, would you take the water? And then I switch your question. I said, the absence of GCT on water, will it allow you or enable you to buy more water? And everybody said no. And remember, neighbor, these are persons who can afford other things. Right? And it shows that it doesn't change how you perceive things. It's more the psychological and peer pressure aspect of it. For example, neighbor, Jamaica have a culture where we don't cook on a Friday. Where do we go? KFC. If you ask KFC how much water them sell, or even better yet, how much cup of water them give out,
yes,
you will realize that it makes no sense, and you can't get a cup of water at KFC for free.
Yes, it confuses rhetoric with reality. Harry, terrible.
So it's not something that is realistic at all. What the opposition leader has stated.
Yes. Secondly, Harry, gasoline and bottled water are not comparable goods. Gasoline is a globally traded, regulated commodity its price is shaped by international forces, policy decisions, and economic necessity. Bottled water is a private retail product, packaged, branded, and sold for profit. So what we are really comparing is not water versus gas. We are comparing convenience versus commodity. Is that not correct?
And that is correct, neighbor. And then when you look at it,
yes,
they don't go through the same processes.
there
So you
go.
have to factor in that. And in fact of it, neighbor, one prices in terms of when you look at both, one of them is so variable because so many different things can change the price for it. And the opposition leader alluded to just one major factor, which was the geopolitical issue and the war. There's so many others. The cost it takes.
And Harry, it is possible that over the next month, if the war continues unabated, that gasoline prices may be doubled.
Easy, neighbor. Qatar is
But
reporting
water will not be doubled here.
No. And Qatar, neighbor, who holds 30% of LNG and 20% of the world's oil, right? Is stating that if the war continues within the next month, automatically they're putting it to $150.
Yes.
But
Here you go.
we don't hear that NWC with the water out of our pipe are going to double or triple.
So
it's a nonsensical comparison, neighbor.
God say, I'm going to charge with the water. We're free.
Exactly.
Because there are people in Jamaica, Harry, who have never bought a bottle of water.
Yeah, because it's not within their psychological upbringing, neighbor. So, for example, if you have a kid and you expose that child to juices, sweet beverages, right, from an earlier age, you have now made or created a habit for that child. The sensory
space.
Exactly. So it is what we would have called so-called sweet tooth, and as such, you have now shaped a habit. I think the saying goes, you shape a habit within 21 days, I believe, neighbor. And it's not something you can get out that easily. So you're always going to go for that.
And therefore, Harry, if bottled water in Jamaica was $30, people wouldn't drink more water.
No, it has no impact on them consuming more water. None at all.
When the opposition leader is saying that if you take off the tax off of the bottled water, people will drink more water, that is absurd.
It is, neighbor. In fact, I could ask the opposition leader the other day when he was taking food out of his teeth, did he drink water with that meal or juice?
No. What you say?
No, it is the truth, neighbor. I can guarantee, neighbor, I can put every dime I have in my life and ever earn in my life that it was a juice him drink with that meal.
In other words, if you bring 63 bottles of juice into the parliament and 63 bottles of water, most of them are going to take juice.
They're going to take the juice, neighbor. Worse if it's a juice so they never drink.
Oh gosh.
Like a tropical rhythm.
Yeah, but it is just one of those things that Jamaicans, in terms of the culture, and we have to understand this as well, neighbor, we're being shaped by a global culture in the West, and that has more drive factor and shaping how we operate as humans. Neighbor, if you look at what we consume naturally, back in the days, 90s, 70s, 80s, 90s, you found people consuming more organic food. Food where probably just going to dig up out their backyard. No, we want processed things because we see it as a level of status. So, for example, you can go buy a food run around a corner shop, but instead the status is let's go to Wendy's, let's go to Starbucks, because it comes with a status level, and people are chasing that, which is a psycho-cultural aspect of things, not the money.
Yes. And but Harry, before I come to Dorland, aren't you amazed that the opposition in chorus applauded that move by opposition leader, which is so flawed? Because it's not because water is unavailable. It's not because water is unaffordable. It is because of a culture. It is because of preference. It is because of habit. It's not an issue of access. It's an issue of choice. That's why people don't drink the water.
Exactly. And that is something in which if he had doubled down, neighbor, to say, you know, let's say he bashed the tax and disapprove of it, and come with it to say, let's put more pressure on Ministry of Health to form more programs and get people more aware and more educated from the ground level come up, because you have to shape the younger persons coming up. You really and truly can't save the older persons in if we're being frank, you know. If he had come with something like that, you could have said, okay, I can give you some points for that. I can see where you're going with it. But don't come with this gas and oil thing, neighbor.
I tell you the truth, if you start giving water for free in Jamaica, people have not drink it. You have to get the culture to change. So it's not about the price at all. It has nothing to do with price at all. It has to do with the whole matter of the culture that we have created.
It definitely has to, neighbor. It is a cultural thing. It's not an economic factor. We're not disputing that you'll have some. It's not negligible economically, but it is definitely not in the top 5 or top 10 things that shape people's dietary needs and dietary wants. It definitely isn't.
Not at all. Hold on for me, Harry. Mr. Francis, good night to you, sir.
Good night, neighbor. How you doing?
I'm not bad at all. How are you doing, sir? What's on your mind?
Yes, I really wanted to get on a platform like this to deal with the tax aspect of the budget and the criticism that it attracted.
Okay, I have Harry and I have Scratchy.
But I hear you talking about the water thing. So I might just touch on that briefly.
Yes, Harry, please come in here. Do I beg you?
I think it's a false equivalency.
Yes.
And I think the PNP, as they usually do, they just try to find something that they think will connect, or that will resonate with the with their constituency.
Yes.
I was going to describe the constituency, but I won't do that. You know, but yeah, some low-level people who certain things appeal to, you know, some simple little things, and they will.
But don't you find it interesting, sir, that the MPs in Parliament at this moment, when this illustration that you call a false equivalency was made, that they thought it was true?
No, that is how they are conditioned. You know, they're gonna they realize their leader is trying to make a point. You know, probably was hoping that it will be a strong point. So they just they just cheer him.
Explain the false equivalency for me.
I mean, you're comparing water with gas. I mean, you first and foremost, I think one or two of your callers or other participants made reference to the different brand of water. Now, also you have different processes. You know, you have water that is a lot of the bottled water is reverse osmosis they use to purify the water, you know. So they probably catch the water from the one that from National Water Commission, the public water. They just catch that and use reverse osmosis to purify it, right?
Yes.
And there are some water that are obtained from springs. Like Catherine Peak, I believe, come from a spring up in the Blue Mountain. Right?
Yes.
So just the process.
So those things are involved in the cost of the water.
Of course, you're going to have you have different type of water, different costs, because the Catherine Peak spring water, straight up spring water, that is probably will be a little more expensive.
Yes. In other words, if I go up to the Blue Mountains to catch water and carry down for you, have to pay me for it.
Of course.
So you're paying me for the service.
Of course.
For the branding, for the manufacturing, for the transportation.
Right.
So the water don't cost $100.
No, sourcing the thing is part of the cost.
Right.
And then now you go and compare that now with a guy who probably have an industrial office with water supply from NWC, and they use a reverse osmosis process to purify the water. That to my mind, I've not done any numbers on that, but to my mind, the reverse osmosis process will be far cheaper. That's like industrial scale water production. So that will be far cheaper than water coming from Catherine Peak or any other.
And is it not true, sir, that we do have a culture that has been acclimatized to sweet drinks, and that if water even was being given away for free, many people wouldn't want it?
Well, yeah, it's just a habit. It's just a eating habit.
I've been to functions where I see them giving out bottled water. I don't take none.
I mean,
as a matter of fact, I think I have most about more than a dozen bottles of water that when I go to church, they give me a bottle of water. I don't drink it. I don't hardly drink water. Not a good thing.
Yeah. Of course, drinking water is good. I think there's studies that have shown that if you drink water regularly,
I agree.
It flushes out your system.
So the idea that removing GCT from water will cause people to drink more water. It's pretty absurd.
Yeah, it's not gonna encourage increased usage. I think
we should tell KFC to start serving water with the chicken and not Pepsi. See how much people are going object.
No, they would think that they are being robbed. Even if the drinks is not factored in the price.
Yes, we have to get them to reduce the sugar content in the juicer. Can't take away the juice. Yeah. And if you serve me my dinner without juice, me not happy, sir. Don't serve me with no water. I don't want my dinner with water.
You want something sweet.
Yes, sir. I want the juice.
Anyway, just I think the PNP was certain. So let me give them a lick before I leave off that topic. If they're really concerned about water, Jamaica use about 210 million gallons of water per day now. Right? Last time I checked, it was about, no, did I say 200? I think the 100. Yeah. Anyway, the 100 million gallons per day. That was the last time I did a check. But I think it's probably not about 210 million gallons per day, right? And what Mark Golding should have focused on is to say, after 210 million gallons of water a day that the country needs, how much did the PNP provide? And the last study I did, they did less than 20 million gallons per day. The system that they built and developed provide less than 20 million gallons of water per day. In a country, we need at least 110 million gallons of water per day.
All
right?
That's a good point.
Yeah, no, so that is what they should be focused on. They have not contributed to the development of water in the country. You understand?
Yes, and that is water that people can drink. The water that is coming out of our pipes.
Yeah, but the water is essential to life. It is essential to the development of a country. How much? So right now they have a high-end 4-story condo with areas to dock boats and all those things. That is on the drawing table. And it can't move forward. And you know why? Lack of water, lack of sewage. If you know how much proposal for development in Belvedere, Red Hills and all those areas.
Yeah.
That they can't pass because they don't have enough water to supply those areas. Yeah. So these because they don't expand the water supply, it retards the development.
Don't have a lot of time, Mr. Francis. Give me your general outlook of the presentation.
Wait,
what you talk about?
I want to deal with the taxes. Yeah,
Okay.
that's one of the main reason why I came on the platform. There is a misconception going around, and I hear it from notable economists.
Yes.
I don't remember the name of the gentleman last. I think of Folks' name is last night. And then there is a Mr. Hyman, who is always on the PNP platform. And they're harping, and I even hear Mark Golding come with it last in his presentation, that when government tax, it is contractionary. Meaning that when government tax, it will cause the economy to contract.
Yes.
It is a total, utter rubbish argument. There's no truth to that.
Yes.
Right? Because they seem to think that when government tax and get the tax money, they're going to dig a hole and put that money in it. And that's not how it works. When government tax and get the tax money and government spend it, you see them come and say, oh, the people will know to spend their money better. That is just another one of those mind game words, you know. They just use a word that will rest in people's mind. It's your money. I don't know if you ever see some advertisement on TV. It's your money. Use it when you want it. It's just mind game. The fact of the matter is that you see, if the government was to say cut tax, let's do the reverse and say they went ahead and cut tax, it would not cause the expansion in the economy. It's not likely to cause the expansion in the economy. You know what? Why? Because in a crisis like that, the people's natural instinct is to save. So if government was supposed to cut any tax, do tax cutting, people would take the extra money and they would save it. They would not spend it. Coming out of the crisis and with the difficulty ahead, what they will do, they will preserve cash, they will hoard cash, they will keep it. That is what will happen if government was to cut tax. Like in the last budget, I hear people coming about you should have a expansionary, you need to go for growth and cause expansion in the economy and all of that. And they would imply that government should cut tax. If government cut tax, the savings that is generated, the extra money that people will get, they will tend, because tendency is what matter. They will tend.
So Mr. Dolan, you're saying there won't be any movement of that money in and around the economy, no stimulation, because of when people are in a recovery or disaster mode, they hold on to scarce resources, in this case, the money.
Yes.
So you won't get any stimulation of growth and all of that.
Certainly. So the tax cut is counterintuitive. What the government did, and the problem I have with it's too tame. It was too tame. Because
what is too tame?
The taxing. The amount
you
of
mean
money.
The government should have seek to get more from taxes?
Yes.
Oh.
Starting with the banks. And I hear they're talking about removing the
banks would pass it on to their customers.
The asset tax. No, man. You tax them in a way so then don't pass down to the customer. They're talking about moving the asset tax. Government should never do that. Not in Jamaica, not with the current bank culture that is taking place in the country. They are not to remove the asset tax. As a matter of fact, they are to find other ways to tax the bank. Because the banks are not doing what banks are supposed to do.
But hold on there, Mr. Francis. In terms of the politics of it, well, you already see that within the society, the taxes are being attacked and are largely unpopular, which taxes generally are. And you are recommending that the government tax more at this time?
Yes.
How would it? But you're not providing political fodder for the opposition, man.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, I like the way you frame it and the lead question you ask. Yeah, Because you see, the economy, a lot of the things, the economy is counterintuitive. It's contrarian. A lot of the things that you think will hurt you, help you. And a lot of the things that you believe help you, hurt you. Right? And if you had time, I would go into it. I did a series of presentation on it in my TikTok thing about how the Republican and the conservatives in America, how they live for tax cut. And the tax cut is what broke the economy.
But timing though, because political strategies and this is not only a budget presentation, Mr. Francis.
Yeah.
This is also about
I know you're going with that, but now is the time to do it. You just come out of an election.
No, this is the time. No, you just come out of an election.
Let me just tell you a few things. Let me make the points I want to make.
Yes,
right?
I don't have a lot of time though.
I realize.
Yes.
And a lot of the guys, the commentators come in and talk about, we are in the world. You see people in an economic disaster imposing tax. Well, let me tell them we are in the world. In 1929, the biggest blow up in the world economy took place. The greatest depression the world has known occurred in 1929.
Yes.
Franklin Delano Roosevelt took over America in 1933. And you know what he did? He imposed some massive taxation. Corporation was taxed at 50%. The highest marginal tax rate on individual was 80%. The highest marginal rate.
But Mr. Francis, to be frank, these are that's almost 100 years ago. I mean, these are different economical times.
The thing is,
hold on, wouldn't it be political suicide, especially what's happening?
No. But if you look at the value of those economy compared to a Jamaica economy, I think it's unfair. So if you compare Jamaica with America,
no. The principle remain the same. And we have a government who we can give tax money to.
We're bang on 9 o'clock. Hold on. We're bang on 9. Hold on. It's 9 o'clock in Jamaica. It's 10 o'clock in Florida.
Share the live. Also, please remember to follow us both on our TikTok page and our YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook page.
Please remember that if you're in Jamaica, 876-858-9553, WhatsApp our number, 876-858-9553. If you are in the United States and you want to make a contribution to the Hello Neighbor podcast, the Zelle account is 954-635-8732. Or you can send it via Cash App. That's $ Caroline Perrier. That's capital CARROLINE, capital PERRIER. And of course, would appreciate your continued support of the program. Mr. Francis, we're going to have to pick this up back another night, sir. I'm just going to ask you to wrap up because I'm going to have to run.
Okay. Thanks for the advance notice. But what I can tell people is that when it comes to the economy, what you think is good for you is often bad for you. What you think is bad for you is often good for you, right? It's just like in an inflationary situation, everybody wants increased pay. That's not what they should be looking for. They should be looking for increased goods and service, more produce, and it's the same thing with taxation. A lot of people think taxation is bad. It's bad in the hands of government who don't know to spend tax money. But
That's
when you
true.
have a government,
And the fact of the matter is that Jamaica's history, especially in the 90s, was a time when we saw a lot of taxes. 17 years of it, and we never saw where it was going to. So Jamaicans do have a fear for taxes.
Yeah, but that they don't need to have that anymore. We have a government now in place that is using the money prudently.
Yeah,
and I know I have to go. The studies have shown that there's a thing called the multiplier effect in the economy. The multiplying effect of spending, right? And studies have shown that when government spend, the multiplier is 2 times. So it means that if you spend $1,000, it will generate $2,000 of income out there. Right?
Fantastic, Mr. Francis. You should get in touch with the moderator and let us arrange to have you back, sir. But we're out of time.
All right.
Yeah, man. Please. So let's head ahead for the runway. Scratchy, let's start with you. Tomorrow, a big day for the Jamaica Labour Party, big day for the Prime Minister, big day for the government. Lots to respond to, and I think expectations are high. Scratchy, as usual, you expect the Prime Minister to deliver, correct?
Yeah, but I mean for something great tomorrow, yeah, I'm expecting something great tomorrow. Not just only looking for perks or anything, yeah, but the Prime Minister debate presentation, yeah, but it's always something, yeah, but that ever since he became the Prime Minister since 2016, yeah, but it's something that I often look towards, yeah, because of his style, yeah, but how he delivers, you know, and the quality and the quality of his content that he comes with, yeah, but the stuff that he comes to present with us with. You know, I think whatever mishaps is out there, neighbor, or misinformation, the Prime Minister will definitely correct that tomorrow. He has a way, neighbor, as a leader. Yes, he's a teacher as well, neighbor. He knows how to connect with the audience. He knows how to read the room. And he also knows how to deliver, neighbor. So tomorrow I'm expecting a master class again, neighbor, from probably, neighbor, the greatest political mind of the Western Hemisphere right now, you know. Even this way further, even the Caribbean, you know. I don't see anyone in the parliament, neighbor, who's up any match. I was have any comparison, neighbor, to this Prime Minister, neighbor. This is something that is not new to him. This might be about, I think, his 11th budget presentation, neighbor. When you have done something over a period of time, neighbor, it has become the norm. So I know, unlike others who they might say the pressure is on them, neighbor, I think tomorrow we're going to see a cool, calm, and collective Prime Minister, neighbor, both in his delivery and his appearance. You know, I know his style. Tomorrow his special feature is tomorrow he's going to trim. Have him nice to go feed and come well sharp tomorrow, neighbor, in him suit, you know. He's gonna well groomed tomorrow, you know.
I wonder if put a little dye to hide the grays.
Unlike his opponent, neighbor, he's gonna come sharp tomorrow, neighbor, in his suit and his haircut, you know. I definitely know he's gonna have that little fade, a little sharp fade here, you know, and come well groomed and properly groomed to come and deliver the message to Jamaicans, neighbor. But definitely, neighbor, tomorrow, substance over hype. You know, I'm also expecting to clear up, clarify a lot of things. I'm expecting him to rebut the opposition leader and the opposition spokesman and a lot of things, neighbor. I am definitely expecting a knockout punch tomorrow, neighbor, and I can guarantee you that after tomorrow, Jamaicans will have a better understanding, neighbor, of where we are and where we stand, where we are currently, why this tax, and get a better understanding, neighbor, of the tax that was introduced by the Jamaica Labour Party government and where we are. I am not worried, neighbor. As I said, neighbor, Andrew Michael Holness is a Prime Minister who a lot of us, neighbor, have watched, neighbor. We have watched the development of this Prime Minister, neighbor. We saw a young Andrew Michael Holness, a very young and premature Prime Minister who called an election, neighbor, lost that election, neighbor, went into opposition from late 2012, late 2011, about the 20th or 29th of December, I believe he lost the election. So let's say 2012, he started 2012 as the opposition leader, neighbor, all the way up to 2016. We watch his prime minister grown in front of us, neighbor. We watch his prime minister mature in front of us, neighbor. While he was the opposition leader, he wasn't a combative, he wasn't a destructive opposition leader. A lot of things that the People's National Party came in at the time, neighbor, for us, for Jamaican to stand firm and succeed, neighbor. He agreed with them, neighbor. He's doing his budget presentation over that 4 year while he was in opposition, neighbor. He agreed with a lot of things. Yes, he bashed them on certain things that didn't seem right, yes, but most of the things, neighbor, that was supposed to bring Jamaica forward, neighbor, he stand with the government at the time as an opposition leader. And we saw, neighbor, his maturity, and because of that leadership style and maturity that he's shown as an opposition leader, Jamaicans rewarded him, neighbor, 2016 with the general election, neighbor. And we have seen now where he is 2016 election, 2020 election, and now 2025 election going into his third term. The first Jamaica Labour Party leader to ever become a third term leader, a third term prime minister. So I'm not worried, neighbor. I'm not concerned. I am very positive. I believe in this in this guy. I believe him as the leader of the Jamaica Labour Party, and I also am more confident in him as the Prime Minister of Jamaica. He has been Prime Minister for 10 years now, from 2016 till present, and going longer and going stronger. So I am not worried, neighbor, and I don't think Jamaicans should be worried either. What I would say to Jamaicans is tomorrow, guys, just get your favorite drink. If you drink, you get your favorite drink. If you smoke, you get your favorite smoke. Tune into
Smoking is dangerous.
It's just a reality, neighbor. It's just a reality, you know. It's just a reality. Yeah. Cigarettes are on shelves selling day in and day out. So person, you know. So you just get your favorite, whatever is your comfort. Sit in, whatever medium you choose to watch the Prime Minister from. Get in as early as possible, guys. If you're at work, try see if you can get a headphone tomorrow and screech and put it in your ears and hide and listen to the Prime Minister. And definitely get a first-hand listening, guys, of what the Prime Minister has to say, because I am definitely sure that come tomorrow, neighbor, Jamaicans are going to leave with a better understanding of where we are, neighbor, a better understanding of why a lot of things are happening. And we are open, neighbor, to see if, I'm going to tell you, neighbor, that despite us coming out of a natural disaster, neighbor, I am expecting the Prime Minister to come with some goodies tomorrow. And I cannot pinpoint as to say what specific goodies they might come with, because I don't have the direct specifics of what the economy is like and how the economy look and which area we can give from and which area we can take from. But I can definitely tell you, neighbor, that something great is coming to our neighbor. This is a Prime Minister where from 2016 till present, where he's giving budget presentation, neighbor, he has never came to us empty-handed. Every time he comes to give us a budget presentation, neighbor, some sectors, or if not all sectors of Jamaica, benefit in some way, shape, or form. So I'm definitely expecting that, neighbor. So tomorrow, everyone, let's get in your comfort zone. Get in your comfort zone. Choose your medium where you want to listen from. Whether you want to listen from his personal TikTok page, PBCJ, Nationwide, whichever medium you choose to listen from. Just get yourself intact, guys. Get the information first, and be ready to come to Politics Plus by 6 o'clock, where we break down what the Prime Minister is saying. Just be ready to give our feedback. But I am not worried, neighbor, and I am not concerned. I have maximum faith and belief in my Prime Minister. He's not new to this. He's not timid, neighbor. He's not being challenged, neighbor. His position is safe in his party as the leader of the Jamaica Labour Party. He's not worried about his position as the leader of the Jamaica Labour Party. And even further, neighbor, his position as the Prime Minister of Jamaica is in no threat neither. He just won an election 6 months ago. So he have no reason to come and mirror and be combative as the opposition leader was yesterday. He have no reason to do that, neighbor. He's going to come calm, cool, and collective, neighbor. And I am expecting, neighbor, wonders and a lot of things from the Prime Minister tomorrow. So Jamaicans, just tune in, us as Labour, just tune in, guys, and just push and give the Prime Minister our strength. Whatever medium you choose to choose from, let's go over there and bombard it and run up the numbers in terms of viewership and let them show us how much we adore and respect and want to hear from our loving Prime Minister.
Fantastic. Harry?
Neighbor, I mean, I'm looking for one or two key things, neighbor. Especially where the opposition dropped the ball. Considering what they would have done last year regarding, not giving credit to crime, the reduction in crime, and to see the opposition fail miserably with any form of recommendation, neighbor, as to how they would actually handle the situation to make it better. Mark Golding actually said it's to wear more body cameras. I don't know how you recommend something that is already there. So I expect the Prime Minister to come and double down on that, neighbor, to show how they can secure Jamaica going forward, because we know we're not looking for this divine intervention right now, neighbor. We're putting in the work and we're seeing the results of it. So I expect him to come and show us how he will continue to maintain, if not lower that. I see the JCF saying, road to 400, which is a beautiful thing. They have the resources, the tech and everything now backing them. So I want to see him weighing on that specifically, because we went through the disaster. I mean, we rest on the laurels for that. It's something you have to ensure that you still go ahead and protect all Jamaican lives, because of course all lives matter. So that's one of the key areas I'm patiently waiting to hear him address, neighbor. But overall, in terms of what I'm anticipating generally from him, it's going to be a calmer approach. As Scratchy said, he's not in any rush. He's not looking for any debates within the next 12 months. Any election within the next 12 months for the party. I expect him to also come and debunk some of the misinformation and the fact that the opposition was actually being intellectually disingenuous. I expect him to come and put those to bed once and for all. Right. I think after this budget debate, I don't think we should be hearing any of those rhetorics coming to life again. You're dead and buried. Move on. Actually, put Jamaica back on the runway, neighbor. I mean, we were delayed. I'll put it the inclement weather, because that's what I'm calling Melissa compared to our preparation that the country has gone under for the last decade. Right. I mean, people are seeing things as if it's a normal day. We're operating in normality still, even though that's not the full reality. And just to show Jamaicans how he's steadying the ship, how he's actually progressing, and what are the plans to advance Jamaica going forward. I mean, we've already gotten the recommendation, neighbor, from world institutions that we are forward thinkers, right? It is a good administration leading Jamaica on the right path. And to just, neighbor, in a sense, just put his foot down, lay the law down, lay the policies, lay the recommendations, and to add to Scratchy, I'm hoping I'm seeing a goodies basket as well, neighbor. Just to ease the Jamaican people, because I know they're waiting for this. There's some level of anxiety to know what is coming, because the opposition leader has failed. As I said, he has missed the mark. Funny enough, Mark missed the mark. But it is one to show the contrast between both leaders. That is what will be on exhibition tomorrow, right? The characters of a leader compared to one that is waiting. I don't think Margolin will ever get the position, but it is not one that you can lead a nation with aggravation, with arrogance in an aggressive manner. And as such, Mr. Holness will come with, calm, cool, and deadly, because I expect him to be surgical in how he takes apart what the opposition put forward, and not just the opposition leader, but the opposition finance minister as well, because they really didn't do Jamaica justice. As I said on previous shows, neighbor, I think we need a refund. Right, I don't think it's supposed to be getting $25 million to come and tell us AI stuff that you can Google. I don't think you should be getting $15 million plus to come and tell us something that is not in the realistic forum of Jamaica, right? And specifically, I'm speaking in terms of the tax system. I just also want to use the time, neighbor, to say the dollar cost for that tax thing in which they were speaking of. It took Uruguay a loan of 20 million US from the development bank in their area, and also an additional 5 million. So right there and then, neighbor, I don't know if I'm giving Mr. Holness ammunition to debunk that $8 billion that the opposition thought they were going to get in the first year. In fact, it's going to cost Jamaicans before it ever give us any benefit. So I expect a lot of that to happen going forward, and just to put Jamaica nationals at ease and bring us forward.
Fantastic. No, in terms of the positioning of both leaders here, Harry, I did ask Scratchy earlier about the ideological lines that I have seen drawn. And, coming out of the 90s into the 2000s, there seemed to have been convergence of both political parties as far as the economy was concerned. Aren't you seeing a shifting away from that convergence? And I think the PNP is now clearly positioning itself as more on the reformist side than fiscal conservatism. Do you see that that there is a difference in economic direction for the country?
There is, neighbor. Just coming from the People's National Party prospectus, it was the highlight that showed the difference between both political parties. It shows the polarization. Actually, I don't think it's that close anymore. Because we had a time where it was a little closer, right?
Yes.
But I guess things have changed when you've put somebody like a Mark Golding as your leader, and as such, they are backing ideologies of the past, which I think for one is outdated. It is not applicable to Jamaica. In fact, it's going to put us on our knees if we ever bring back that ideology to Jamaica. So it is not one in which I'd look at it to say they're any closer than ever. I do expect Jamaica to also realize that and act upon it. In fact, I think this is the most time, based on our educational level and access to information, I think now is the time we should double down on that and understand the major differences between both. And in fact, for the 20-year-olds, because the debate has started around those people, for those youngsters in that who are fresh and green, who had no idea as to what the People's National Party ideology has done, this is a time in which they can actually compare and contrast. They've lived one, and they can also research the other, and then they can make a conscious choice. In fact, they have 4 to 5 years to do so. And I hope they do make the proper decision after experiencing it for a longer time, and see which is best for Jamaica. Because if it's best for that group, neighbor, then they will understand that it is also best for Jamaica going forward. Because people may say it is easier to lead Jamaica now, and I beg to differ. Because now what you've done is people have been exposed to such a standard where you not only should keep that standard or maintain it, they're looking for you to best it every single time. And that's no easy feat. When you've liberated your people that much, when you've exposed them to so many things, it is one in which you now have the task of being better than you were yesterday. And that is never, ever easy, because there's going to be new challenges, plus the standard that you have to uphold and maintain. And people need to understand that. And they will demand, because as this happened, neighbor, the dreams and aspirations of the people that Mr. Holness has strapped onto his back, those dreams and aspirations increases day by day, especially when it comes on to risk management. They've now added more pressure on that. And it's a good pressure to have, but it is also one in which you have to ensure that you keep a level of continuance of a good leader, of a good administration, because the moment you slack off, all that gains can actually be reverted. It is like you going to the gym for a whole year, neighbor, consistent, and seeing the gains. You look good. The girl them say, yeah, you look nice. And you miss the gym for 1 month, and all of that gone. That is what Jamaica is facing right now.
All right, Scratchy, the Prime Minister is saying tomorrow, March 19, I will present the 2026 national budget outlining our journey from resilience to resurgence. Focus on growth, opportunity, and a stronger future for every Jamaican. I invite you to join me and be a part of this important national conversation. Watch live on Nationwide, Roots FM, Mellow FM, Gospel JA, Cool FM, Love FM, KLAS, the Jamaica Observer, and my official social media platforms. Prime Minister Holness, building forward together from resilience to resurgence. You feel it, Scratchy?
Definitely, neighbor. And before I even start, neighbor, I want to say thanks to the ladies who said they love my voice, you know.
Sorry, the ladies who do what? Hold on.
I saw a lot of ladies in the chat saying that they love my voice, you know. Thank you guys very much. You know, it's the lady's
They love
voice.
Your voice.
Yes, the lady's voice. You know, this is the voice that.
They must plan to program him, neighbor.
Wow. They love your voice, son?
Yes, neighbor. This is the lady's voice in the neighbor. And the lady's the mayor's voice in the neighbor. All type of things happening. You know.
By the way, Scratchy, we will not have you speak for the rest of the program. Let Harry speak. Your voice is causing problem. Stop laughing. Close your mind. Wait, go ahead, sir. Wow, the ladies are lining up for the voice. No, you're going to be conscious of your voice. You're going to be conscious of your voice. Go ahead and talk, and just talk.
No, say your neighbor. I'm saying tomorrow, neighbor.
Yes.
It's just greatness tomorrow, man. I just ask everyone to just go out and support the Prime Minister, neighbor. Let's just go over there, give him our full support, neighbor. We saw the numbers for the opposition leader, neighbor, and he's doing his presentation. So let's try to push that, you know. Let's we can crash PBCJ and GIS page tomorrow, neighbor, by going over there in our full numbers and comment, you know, comment and use up our hashtags and stuff like that. You know, give the Prime Minister his full support tomorrow, neighbor, because our full support, neighbor, will definitely help with his confidence. It's not short of confidence, but it will definitely help boost him, neighbor. We know on TikTok and these social medias how important numbers is, neighbor. Our numbers are, neighbor. So we just want to go over there and give him our full support tomorrow, neighbor. I'm not gonna try and preempt the Prime Minister's speech anymore, neighbor. But I can tell everyone, neighbor, that just look out for something great tomorrow. Look out for one of our presentation that we have never seen, a different type of presentation, neighbor. A presentation that definitely match the reality, neighbor, of our situation in terms of the disaster that we went through with Hurricane Melissa and where the Prime Minister wants to position this country and put us going forward for the next 5 years. And again, yes, neighbor, the Prime Minister is someone, neighbor, who was a delivery style, neighbor, that no other politician in Jamaica, no other politician in the parliament can match his delivery style, neighbor. He knows how to come and be, you know, trying to be jovial at times, neighbor, despite still maintaining the level of professionalism, still staying on course and still staying on point. So I'm expecting a few jobs here and a few jobs there tomorrow, neighbor, towards the opposition, especially Mark Golden, neighbor, because we see where it came with a lot of misleading facts, misleading information, misleading props, neighbor, trying to compare water with gas and stuff like that. Way off. So I expect the Prime Minister to come tomorrow, neighbor, and put him in his place, neighbor, and put the opposition in their place, and just let well-thinking Jamaicans understand that we have no fear, neighbor, and Holness is here, definitely.
All right, sir. Thank you so much. And
neighbor.
Yes.
I noticed that Scratchy is promoting PBC and nationwide, but let us tell our listeners that it will also be live on the Prime Minister's page on TikTok. So we encourage all our listeners to go over to TikTok tomorrow on the Prime Minister's page to watch his speech.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that, Caroline. Thank you for that so much. All right, Harry, your final thoughts on tonight's show, tonight's program?
Oh, neighbor, it's always informative in a neighbor. We're here every night to feed the people of the information that they desire. To translate it so they comprehend on all levels. Doesn't matter where you are, far east, far west, up north, down south, anywhere on the ladder you are. You always come. Neighbors' notes. I'll also provide clarity and so on. And of course, Scratchy, one of the best communicators on the app, right? Yeah, ladies don't watch your Raspberry Vice, and just listen to him message. So, but definitely, neighbor, it was another good one. We've not just preempt the people our listeners to looking forward to tomorrow. We've also pointed them in the right direction, not because they are in support of the Prime Minister, mean they won't just be listening to him, but to listen for substance. And anything, listeners, definitely, if you guys don't understand something, make a note of it. Neighbor will be here to break it down, Scratchy, myself. But tonight, definitely, neighbor, I think they got valuable information as they do every night. But tomorrow, I think it's going to be a whole different ball game.
Absolutely. So then we look forward to the listeners joining us tomorrow, and thank you for tuning in tonight, and we'll catch you tomorrow. I think we'll be on a little earlier than 6 o'clock. We're trying to work through the scheduling of the program tomorrow. There are some ideas that we have that we could do, but I know that once we join, you'll get the notification. This has been the Hello Neighbor podcast for Wednesday, the 18th of March, 2026. I want to thank Chef Reen, who is behind the glass, and Caroline, who is up in the office, working to make sure that the program gets out to you across the world. I want to thank Scratchy, I want to thank Harry, I want to thank Gordon Francis, who joined us earlier. Until tomorrow, when we do this all over again, this has been the Hello Neighbor podcast, live on your TikTok, Facebook, the Instagram, all across the social media platforms we're streaming right now. Take care. We'll catch you tomorrow.
And I deserve the rights to live like any other.